Jessica Valenti, jessica.substack.com. She's been on this program a number of times. She writes a Substack newsletter called Abortion Every Day. And she writes, this is from her yesterday, her Substack yesterday. She says, back in January, I wrote about how Republicans wanted women with life-threatening pregnancies to be forced into C-sections instead of having quicker, safer, and medically standard abortions. Now, think about that for a minute. This is totally weird. A woman who's got a dead fetus or a deformed fetus, needs to have an abortion. What the Republicans are saying is that that woman, instead of having an abortion, which would leave her intact and capable of having, future pregnancies without complications and normal vaginal births, instead they want her to have a C-section to remove the fetus and, I don't know, call it a birth or something. So anyhow, she says, that's right, they wanted to force women whose lives were already in danger to have major abdominal surgery rather than a 10-minute procedure. And then she notes that when she wrote about this back in January, that a whole bunch of people responded to her going, come on, Republicans are not that stupid, they're not that crazy, they're not that evil, you're exaggerating. So she says, well, a new report out of Louisiana shows that's exactly what's happening. Usually I like to be right, but not this time. Yesterday, Lift Louisiana published a report about women being denied miscarriage treatment and care for ectopic pregnancies, delays in prenatal care, women being forced into major abdominal surgeries like C-sections. She says it's a nightmare, but it was the forced C-sections that took my breath away. I'm quoting from Jessica Valenti. She says the report details one case, for example, where a woman's water broke 20 weeks into her pregnancy, far too early for the fetus to survive. In order to preserve the appearance of not doing an abortion, her doctor performed a C-section. NPR notes this patient was not given a choice. She was forced into the surgery. This is a quote from a Louisiana ER doc who was quoted on NPR. Quote, what that means is that now this person has had a C-section, right? And that means that she's at a higher risk for any future pregnancies. She can no longer deliver vaginally. The appropriate thing to do, again, would have been a D&E without subjecting the patient to this unnecessary abdominal surgery. But my colleague didn't feel like she could do that while remaining in compliance with Louisiana law or appearing to remain in compliance with the law. Now, Louisiana's law says that any doctor who performs an abortion is looking at 15 years in prison. This report that Jessica Valenti is quoting cites a maternal fetal medicine specialist who writes, quote, our Attorney General, Jeff Landry, sent us all a letter saying, I will put you in jail if you break these rules. Literally, I am out to get you, so don't break these rules. So you do feel a little bit like there's a target on your back because you want to do what's right for the patient. And these aren't situations that happen infrequently. These aren't clinical scenarios that happen once a year. They happen all the time. Every time I'm on a call, I have a patient that's considered to potentially be in a life or death situation. End of quote. Back to Jessica Valenti. The report also deals patients denied abortions even though they had life-threatening cardiac conditions, and others who couldn't get treatment despite having cancer because they weren't, quote, going to die right away, end quote. This is the whole Republican thing about if you've got cancer and you're pregnant, you can't take chemotherapy because it'll cause the fetus to abort. So you're just gonna, you're gonna have to give birth and then die from cancer as the cancer progresses from stage 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. She goes on to say, this, by the way, is what the anti-abortion groups want. Now, why would they want that? She describes it. She explains it. She says, they are desperate to divorce abortion from health care. Specifically, they want Americans to believe that abortion is never necessary to protect or save someone's life and health. By mandating that doctors give women C-sections or induce vaginal labor, they think they can make that talking point come true. The Charlotte Lozier Institute, for example, again, I'm quoting from Jessica Valenti, one of the nation's largest and best-funded anti-abortion groups, explicitly recommends that treatment for emergency abortions, quote, be done by labor induction or C-section. The group also says that C-sections are, quote, a more appropriate method of separation because it shows greater respect for the human dignity of the fetus, even if she is too young or sick to survive. Please note, there wasn't a word of mention about the dignity of the woman carrying that non-viable fetus. It's all about the dignity of a fetus that is going to die in utero and may well kill mom in the process. I find this just astonishing, and am just scratching my head over why isn't this being more widely discussed in America? Why isn't this in the news every day? I guess we've just gotten used to Republicans just being crazy. I mean, just, hating on women all the time.